Good afternoon, folks. I'm Dan, working on the 701 Flaperons today. And I've already skinned one of these Flaperons, and I'll fess up, I've already screwed up one of them. So it looks like I've got 3 yet to skin and one that I'm going to have to completely rebuild. So that's part of the fun of scratch building. So anyway, I've got my ring skeleton here, or my Flaperon skeleton. Let me bring this camera down a little bit. You don't need to look at me. You'd rather see something that's gonna teach you something, I think. So I've got my Flaperon skeleton here, and I've got skin for this Flaperon. This is the left outboard Flaperon. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and center line all my ribs in the spar, and we'll get that done. Now I've went ahead and taken the hinge brackets off the bottom because I don't have pre-drilled skins, of course, since this is scratch built. And what the instructions tell you is just to put it up on blocks, because the pre-drilled skin from the factory is already got the cutouts for those hinges to protrude through. So what I've done is the rest of the skeletons are riveted together, the rest of the skeleton, and then I've left the brackets, or the hinge brackets, just clecoed in place so I can take them off. So what we'll do is we'll fit the skin itself to the skeleton, and we'll go ahead and get it drilled and clecoed. Then we can go back and mark where they will protrude through and take the skins off and do those cutouts. Okay, there we've got center lines on the skeleton. Now I'm going to take the skin, I'm going to take the skin, turn it around so we can actually lay it down on the bench. And what I want to do is mark the center line down the edge of that rib. The reason being, we'll fit the bottom part of the skin first onto the skeleton, get it drilled and clecoed in place, and then we can roll the top of the skin over the top and get it fastened in place. But all the measurements will come off of this back row of rivets right here, because we don't have any other reference line. If we had a pre-drilled spar, pre-drilled skin, it would line up with those holes in the spar. But since we don't have that, we're going to reference everything off of the trailing edge rivet line. Now I'm probably going to crowd this up onto the bottom skin a little bit, because what I found on the first one I did that I messed up was trying to pull the skin all the way down and matching up the trailing edge. There wasn't quite enough skin, so I was pulling it awful tight against the two nose ribs and the end rib that had it on there. So what the instruction manual tells you to do is, if you don't have enough, just go ahead and line it up as best you can, or get it as close as you can so it's even all the way down, and then we're just going to trim this back edge. So with my past experience with the first one, I think what I want to do is I want to crowd this up just a little bit more than halfway. That looks pretty good. I wonder what that measurement is. And that's right at 10 millimeters off of the back of the trailing edge. So, and I believe this flange is 15. Let's just go ahead and run our rivet line down there. And that will be our reference point for everything leading up to the nose. And the first step, we go from that line, it's 45 up to the first one. So if we lay this out at 45, I I better go and get my old guy glasses. I'll be right back. Alright, first step is 45. And 48, I believe. Yep, we go 48 more. And then another 48. And then 25 is the spar line. There we go. Now those are our lines, with the exception of I did not mark out our 30 millimeter. And these will be rivet lines. Of course the spar is the main one. And what I do is go ahead and take the spar and line it up where it's going to be. For a couple of reasons. One is it'll give us our spacing for each of the ribs, and they give it to you in the plans, but I also want to verify off the parts that I've actually made. So we set that in place where it belongs, right on the edge, and pretty much on the rivet line. And I can guarantee when you have your loyal companion, it's going to take you at least an extra year to build, because every time you go to step someplace, they're going to be underfoot. And now, as a scratch builder, this is why you double check everything, because I already screwed up one flaperon and we're about to screw up another one. Because when I look at this wing or this flaperon skin, I'm looking at the bottom of the flaperon, I'm looking at the top of the skeleton. So guess what? It needs to set this way to mark out my spar lines, and I am completely wrong, because that will sit at that end. Our first one will be here and not here, which I had marked as our last one. Then here, not here, here, not here, here, not here. So now let's go back, and I'm going to take some acetone and wipe the offending marks off out of the way. We still got our long rivet lines where they're supposed to be. But let's erase those. Here in part of our year build time as we step around the dog. can take off those marks, that mark, that row of marks, that row of marks, and that's right. Okay, let's try this again. Now from this end, we'll do that layout again with the ribs upside down. Okay, there's the layout for the bottom. Now the things to watch for is before I drill my spar and the spar line will get drilled. I have to check those. I believe it's pitch 40. They're all A4s, of course. Then as we go down each rib, we've got 1, 2, 3 rivets. What I want to verify is where I want to verify the end of this spar and make sure on this last rivet hole back here that I have proper edge distance from the back end of that rib. And it looks like I'm fine. Once I've got one of them or a couple of them verified, that's all I really need to do, because the ribs were all cut. They were all router cut and then formed, so I know they're all basically the same or close enough to being the same that I'm not concerned. So if I've got enough edge distance on a couple of these, and of course there's not that many, so you can check all of them, then we can go ahead and drill for the spar. So we've got center lines down everything. We've got center lines down the spar and the ribs. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and pre-drill all of the rivet holes along here. I guess before we do that, we better lay out a rivet line head. And I believe those are pitch 40. Spar top and bottom, A4 pitch 40. And we have some known constants. Now, assuming we've done our measurements right, which I'm pretty confident now we do, we've got the correct side drilled and everything, I can go ahead and drill the spar intersection marks, which are going to be here, 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 and here. And that's everything except for the end of the spar, which, as long as we've got everything else, that'll be where we line up on the end. But as long as we've got everything else lined up there, why, that's all that's going to be important on those. If we put that center line about there. That gives us our line there. Let's verify that for edge distance. We've got 15. We've got 8. Good. Okay, so with those reference holes drilled, then we can lay out our pitch line. there's the layout. So now we've positioned all the holes in the bottom of our spar with the exception of the trailing edge and the very nose rib, the 3 ribs there. So you can go ahead and lay out the trailing edge at the same time if you want. I'll wait at least for a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and just drill out all the holes along the way. Since I'm right-handed, run the drill with my right hand, I prefer on something like this to drill from right to left. That way I'm not dragging my hand through all the chips and the wood from the table. Anyway, thanks for taking the time to watch. If you find these videos helpful, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and that bell notification will let you know when I send out a new video, which I'm trying to send out at least 1 airplane video every week, and I'm going to add 1 or 2 of just other things going on in the shop, other shop projects and things like that. So hopefully we'll see at least a couple of videos a week from me, and hopefully you find this helpful.